Hey everyone, I'm Gordon Coyle, and today I have with me Andrew Singer, and we're going to be talking about COVID-19, vaccine mandates, the law, and all of that sort of stuff. Andrew is the managing partner of Tannenbaum, Helpern, Syracuse, and Hirschtritt, which is a mid-sized business law firm in Manhattan, and shares their employment practice group. So I thought nobody better than Andrew to speak to about this. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
I'm good, Gordon. How are you? Thanks
Great.
for talking to me about this.
Thank you for joining us. So let's start right off. Can an employer, regardless of size, legally mandate that employees are required to have the vaccine as a condition of employment?
Simple answer is yes. It's not new. That's been the law from the beginning. There are both legal and non-legal issues surrounding it, and we're talking to our clients every single day about all of those issues. But the answer is you can mandate vaccination as an employer. The two exceptions that everyone hears about are religious exceptions and health-related exceptions. I will tell you, though, we haven't really seen much of it at all in terms of these exceptions. If you have a good faith religious belief that you cannot get vaccinated, that would be something that an employer would have to make that exception for. I have not yet seen what one is, a real religious exception yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but that would be one. And then a medical exception. If there's some medical reason that you cannot get vaccinated, that also would be an exception that would have to be made, and an accommodation, and that might be different for different companies, but those are the two exceptions.
Great. And let's just talk about the religious exemption. You haven't come across it yet, but what if an employer says, you've never talked about religion before, or you don't have strong religious beliefs? I mean, that seems to tread on some dangerous ground. How would you tease that out?
Well, it always is, but you are allowed as an employer to not simply take the word of an employee who comes in and says, oh, my religion prohibits me from getting vaccinated, and now you have to allow that. You can delve into that and get some better understanding. What is the religion? What's the religious belief? And allows you to determine whether it is a good faith religious belief. Not a good faith belief, oh, it's not good for me, I don't believe in putting things in my body. No, this is religious based, right? Because in this country, freedom of religion, that's where it stems from. So you're not just simply having a 30-second conversation with an employee who says, it's my religious belief, can't do it, and then now you're done. You just have to take their word for it.
Yeah, and maybe we should have started off this conversation by saying that if you're an employer and you're facing these kinds of issues, you really should speak to a qualified employment attorney. I'm sure Andrew would, love to talk to you about it. This is not something that you do just based on this conversation alone.
No, absolutely. You should speak to your own employment law counsel and really, because there might be other issues that are impacted that you're not aware of, and then how to manage what questions can you ask, how to manage that information, who asks, who has access to that information within your organization. There's other issues that are important that might increase your exposure to a litigation if you don't get appropriate counsel.
And that kind of led me into my next question, and that is I'm sure that a lot of employers, especially small business people, medium-sized business people, the folks that you and I work with, they're concerned. They're concerned that they're going to get sued or there's going to be an inquiry from the EEOC. How do you manage that concern as an employer?
You manage it like you do any of the other concerns, right? Any other potential discrimination lawsuits, things like that. You should be educated as management, right? Hopefully HR is educated in these issues. And then once you're educated, the larger companies, and they have middle management, they should be trained and understand when these issues come up, what they're supposed to do or not do. Who the employees should be directed to have these conversations with. It really is no different than anything else, quite frankly.
Yep. what if an employer has, a work at home option and the employee who doesn't want to get vaccinated, doesn't have a religious exemption, says, look, I'm going to be working from home. I really don't present that much of a risk. I don't present any risk to the employee or the employer or the workplace. What do you think about that? And what should an employer do in those situations?
Right. So that when I mentioned non-legal issues, that's a big one. Not a legal issue. We are helping a lot of our clients kind of work through that. You have every right to terminate that employee. You do, just because they can work from home doesn't mean that you're required to allow them to work from home if they are unvaccinated. There's all sorts of issues that come up with that. Some companies and owners say, well, I don't want to reward people who are unvaccinated by allowing them to just work from home, right? That's certainly not incentivizing the behavior, if that's the behavior that the company wants to incentivize. And then you run the risk of having other employees who may have felt, my company is going to require it, I need to go get it, and suddenly you're allowing people to work from home who didn't get it. And so you do have to think of morale issues. We have clients who've called and said, 2 of my most important employees are refusing to get vaccinated. What do I do with it? You have to, those are difficult conversations to have. They're not new though. It's funny, we met over many, many years ago. I would have a client call, let's say, represented an accounting firm, and they would say that one of their young women accountants who's regularly at a client site, the owner is sexually harassing them, and it's a big client. What do I got to do? Well, the legal answer is you've got to do whatever you need to do to protect your employee. Even if the client's demanding, I want that accountant to be on my account and in my office. They then decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is no different with respect to that issue. It's how do you want to manage that with respect to your workforce? Every company's culture is different. The impact on their culture and employee morale on allowing those kind of exceptions that are not legal exceptions. They are for, higher level executives or management that you just feel you kind of need to. And as we also see, there's some labor shortages. So there are companies that don't want to mandate vaccination for fear of losing employees and not being able to fill them. That's a real issue as well.
Yeah.
So there's a variety of business-related issues with respect to mandatory vaccination in the workplace, as there is legal.
Yeah. Last question that I have is what form of proof are you recommending employers get that the employee got a vaccine? We've seen a lot of, fraudulent vaccine cards in the marketplace. Are you saying to employers, don't accept that, or that's fine, or you should use the digital version that kind of ties in with the state? What's your advice on that?
We haven't seen that issue really come up, and while we've heard about fraudulent vaccination cards, I don't think it's rampant. There's not like millions of fraudulent cards out there. And so I still think that you're okay with a photograph or the actual card. I don't think, obviously the New York State has that Excelsior pass, and that is, more better proof. Although, as we saw, there was an arrest conspiracy recently of a healthcare worker who was putting the information fraudulently into New York State system. So I think the proof of either a photograph of the card or the card itself or the New York State Excelsior pass, if you're in New York State, is fine. Great.
That's the kinds of questions I had for this topic. Do you have anything else you'd like to add in?
No, I think we covered it. I think that when companies are making the decision on whether to mandate vaccination or not, you need to really focus on both the legal and the non-legal side of it. Understand who your people are on a very human level. If you're a very large company, it's easier to make policy-like decisions with respect to like understanding, maybe speaking to a bunch of individuals, because that's just how you operate. But if you're, let's say, 200 employees or less, which is the overwhelming majority of employers,
Right.
you really need to know who your people are, your culture, how will they react, what pockets of employees are going to react in different ways. Obviously, make sure you're getting advice from professional HR people and employment lawyers, and make the best decision that you can. There's no playbook on this.
Yeah.
Right. This is new. It's over 100 years ago to the last pandemic, so no one knows. And today is different than back then.
For sure.
Right. Social media didn't exist back then.
Right.
There wasn't as many misinformation campaigns or people with so different versions of facts, because it's what's being fed to them. Not to get political. So it's you have to make the best decision for your company, and make sure you're getting all the appropriate advice from people you trust, and that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, or a great point, that you're balancing the legal issues and the practical business issues. And like you said earlier, every business owner, they take risk every day. That's why they're in business for themselves. So, with the advice of qualified counsel, thinking it through, talking it out, I think is really kind of a very logical approach to handling this particular employment risk. Andrew, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
No, I really appreciate it, Gordon, as always. Take care.
All right, see you.